Welcome back. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Rest in peace to all the lives that were lost. When you want to find out the reasons behind the crazy things that happen, unexplainable things, the professionals always say, follow the money. In a time when we're talking about people hiding their assets, that I found this picture. If you ask people in the banking sector and people from uptown, brown people and the people of different colors, the ruling class people, if you ask them what Finsac was, they're going to tell you it was Financial Sector Adjustment Company. But if you ask down to the very poor people them who were affected, then going to tell us that the worst destruction ever happened under the PNP government, under wicked Omar Davies, and a whole lot more. So through the Bank of Jamaica, Finance Minister at the time, dubious Dr. Davies, raised the interest rate so high that the people who were borrowing from the banks couldn't pay back the bank them were borrow from people couldn't pay back the people them. People who are saving at the bank can't get back their money. Stocks went down, bonds went down, government paper, insurance, every single thing went down because nobody could have paid their debts as a result of the astronomical interest rates that the government put on the people's shoulders. And this was what resulted in the wickedest financial catastrophe. This has been studied all over the world because it's unbelievable. It was a way to shake out money out of people's pocket and put it into the pockets of the rich. That became the end result of Finsac, but we don't reach Finsac yet. So why Finsac came into the picture in 1997 to deal with all the problems that were created in the early 1990s is that they now came in to clean up all the issues, or so the business people or so the banks thought, but it wasn't a clean up job, it was a clean out job. Just so I understand the kind of video I do right now, me deliberately I put certain information up front and I'm going to show you how it ties into today. Make sure you say on a like and subscribe. Let me explain what Finsac was, what kind of company it was. It essentially was a receivership company. So the definition of a receivership here. A receivership occurs in order to enforce a loan agreement that had been in place between the company and the creditor and is nearly always instigated by the creditor, which is often a bank. Make sure so you get no drinks or no tea, man. Because this one here is not normal. So the first thing we need to look at is this. Finsac was the bank that was appointed by the Minister of Finance, Omar Davies, to help banks resolve their issues. Alright, so now see Omar Davies, yeah? He was the Minister of Finance then. I don't know say a Minister of Finance control Bank of Jamaica. I don't know say Bank of Jamaica control interest rates for all financial institutions. Get that on the head. It's very, very important. So what problem indeed really I try to solve, or rather create? The Jamaican financial sector, which we are talking about 150 to 200 banking institutions, about 40,000 entrepreneurs. Wanna remember, man, Eagle Bank, Citizen Bank, Central Bank, NCB was in it, the insurance companies, all kinds of things went down. Now we are the real deal them in the office, and we will have that report soon. Now, don't know why this a report that take over 30 years for produce. PNP no want to talk about this a report and none at all, you know. A whole lot of rich people no want to talk about this a report. The truth is that the reason we haven't had the report is not because the report could not have been completed, you know. It's just that the level of wickedness that took place.
All right, so that takes us back to your own personal experience, which you wrote about in the book with Finsac. Let us go there. You and your husband, you were in the construction industry. Talk to us about that.
Yes. you have your expenses such as salaries and wages, you have your utility bills, you have your suppliers, you have everybody to pay until you get paid. So when your bank collapses, which was Workers' Bank, and you are now faced with not being able to get funding, what do you think is going to happen? Your creditors are going to be down on you. In other words, everything now comes crashing down on you, and your only fault or crime was to go and borrow money that you must use because nobody's going to really, as I said, finance people's houses, buildings, shopping malls, whatever, out of their own pocket unless you're one of those types. You have to give collateral in order to secure these loans. And by collateral, we mean you have got to mortgage something or give up something for the bank to say, you want $1 million? Bring 40,000 acres worth of property come. So the bank holds on to that. Sooner or later, with your being stymied or held at almost gunpoint, you are not able to get financing. You're not able to get payment from your clients. So you have to now go and seek every possible means. And one of them is to put your house up for mortgage. Or better yet, as collateral again. I will just read quickly here what another one of the appendix said. It said, the tragic irony is that many of those producers and manufacturers in Jamaica, trusting that their government was looking after their interests, had borrowed, sometimes pledging their homes to invest in state-of-the-art equipment to improve their efficiency, only to be crushed by the high cost of servicing the debt, that is high interest rates, which are generally harmful. Many sought out new export markets to increase their sales, but lost them as their competitiveness vanished through government's exchange rate policies. Many strengthened their marketing only to be overwhelmed by the advantages given to imported competition by the government's unwise, liberalized trade policies. And I'll stop there for a moment. Every time it is the foreigners who get the edge or the advantage over local producers and local manufacturers who are the homegrown variety. In the Finsac debacle, we were in business for over 20 years. Another company was in business for over 50 years. Another company founded by our national hero, George Gordon, was over 100 years old. And again we ask the question, the government contented itself to believe that companies which had been conducting business successfully for decades were suddenly struck en masse with ineptitude, stupidity, and amnesia as to how to properly run a business.
Explain to us, Val, what do the government do exactly? Because we only talk about the Finsac debacle. What exactly are we talking about?
Okay. You went to your bed last night and interest rate, let's say for argument's sake, is at 30%. You wake up this morning and you see a headline in the newspaper that says, government to increase interest rate to 64%. Please tell me which business would be able to fill that gap between paying interest rate at 30% and suddenly jump with no notice to paying interest rate at 60 and probably more. Overdraft interest rate went up overnight to 120%.
And the impact of that action on businesses was what you are describing.
That is exactly what I'm describing. So how is it that these people who are running business for over all these decades suddenly overnight become bad debtors? Do you see the point I'm making there?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
We were villainized.
Yes.
We were hounded down like common criminals. And we had to watch our businesses go up in smoke. When foreign investors came in, they got tax breaks, they got tax holidays, and we were what? Flung aside and discarded as rubbish. We were called bad debtors.
Now, if you know that, pay attention, Miss Dixon say a whole heap of things, She talk about the fact that they were in construction, borrow the money from Workers' Bank. Workers' Bank went down because nobody could deal with the high interest rates. So, as you can see, it was a manufactured interest rate. If you read between the lines, she said, we were called bad debtors. All the while, it was really a process or a setup to transfer the wealth of the people to other people. Because here's how it goes. The eventual situation is when you go through the bad debt situation and you are in bankruptcy, you cannot salvage, and it's time now to liquidate all of your assets and to pay back your creditors and so on. That is when Finsac comes in to negotiate with you. All the while when they negotiate, you think that they're trying to help you during the process. Who get the benefit of the wealth that was transferred is one thing. Who gonna get it? Friends, uptown people. She talk about it in the video. And she end up losing her house in the process. And when she lose her house in the process, she said, if you ever see a who get her house, if you ever see a who get her house. So she lost the business. She put up her house for collateral. She also lose the house. But who got her house? That was the key thing. So here one man, them brand the people them as bad debtors because of the interest rate that they manufactured and put on the people. Them put everybody in a debt. Every bank in a debt. Individuals in a debt. People are lose business. People are lose house. People are lose their life because they can't imagine something like this really happen. Here's how she put this thing in a historical context coming out of neo-colonialism. Researchers say the troubled banks were all domestically owned and controlled. All the domestically owned and controlled banks were troubled. This was clearly targeted at specific people to muscle their wealth, to thief their money out of their hand. That's why we can't get a report. So when you hear them out here talk about Andrew the certified assets, at least Andrew, a poor man, and him come from among the poor. Nigel come from among the poor. Vote out the whole of them rich people here. The same one them who were there benefiting during Finsac are the same people trying to get back into the government. That's why I don't want to hear nothing about some of them people here. We are trying to come back in a leadership. What happened in the past, if we not try to change it, it gonna happen again. So if you think, say, PNP love you or like you make a sad mistake. Now remember, don't get carried away with the details. You follow the money. It's interesting that Deering, Bunting, and Golding was founded in 1993. Meanwhile, the great Godfrey Dyer, former owner of the Wexford Hotel in Montego Bay, dark-skinned, successful Jamaican man, was Finsacked. Or to listen this now.
I borrowed up 22%. Projection, I should pay off for it in 7 years. 3 months after completion of the project, the interest rates start moving up. By 2006, it peaked at 75% plus 35% penalty. That's 110%. There's no way we could pay it. By 2007, I think it was early 2008, they decided to take over the hotel, which was the bank at the time, MCB. They said I was owing 147 million. By then I had paid 47 million. So I paid 47 million by 2008 and was owing 147 million, coming from a $15 million loan. They took the hotel. I filed a thing in court and decided to fight it. Yeah. 90, I'm sorry, not 2000.
97.
92. Yes, 92. Thanks so much for the correction. It looks like yesterday. 1992.
Wow.
I borrowed the money. And it peaked by 1996.
Wow.
And 1998, they took the hotel into receivership. I filed an action in court and decided to fight it. It took about a year, where we had about 3 hearings, until the court said the bank should show how they arrived at that amount. Of course, the bank couldn't show it. They wouldn't show it. And it kept delaying, and my lawyer started fighting and asked for answer until they decided. By then now, they turned it over to the Finsac. And Finsac was now handling it. They called me in and said, let us talk. And we started talking. Because they couldn't show how they arrived at my paying 47 million and still owing 147 million. We negotiated, and to get to it very quickly, we settled at, they converted it to US dollar, and we settled at a balance of 1.8 million US. So I took over back the hotel from them, owing them 1.8 million US. I got 5 years to pay that. No more interest will be added. Interest will be frozen. The bottom line is, I finished paying them 2006. By the time I finished, I had paid a total of 150 million for that $15 million loan.
Oh my
That's
God.
how it was settled.
Oh my God.
Jamaican dollars now. Jamaican dollars. I felt that if the government had stepped in with Finsac, if they had gone to these individual owners, and me, for instance, having borrowed 15 million, if they had come to me and said, look, we know the circumstance, high interest rate, whatever, let us negotiate a set amount and refinance, I think 90% of the borrowers would have their properties today. 90% would. But no, they took it from us. And I was one of the lucky ones to negotiate and get that because I fought it in court. But many other people who hadn't reached that stage lost their property. And the hurtful part about it, they took it, gave it to the redevelopment at, up to now I'm not sure it's determined whether it's 10 cents, 20 cents, or 30 cents. Yeah. So, 5, yes. But they would not settle with us even for 30 cents in the, even for 50 cents in the dollar. And they took it and gave it away. I think it's regrettable. I think the results of this inquiry needs to be known because it's the only way we are going to ensure that this does not happen again.
What you really can say after you hear that a while ago. In the whole Finsac thing, it was set up under the assumption that the debtors would have to approach them. But you hear the man say a while ago they approached him. Well, however that works. But maybe above anything that he said, is the fact that he said they prefer to sell the assets, they prefer to sell the people them assets to third-party buyers for 5 cents on the dollar in some cases, rather than at 50 cents on the dollars to the original owner. So they weren't even thinking about refinancing. So what else were they thinking? They were thinking about transferring the people their money to other people who they believe deserve the wealth more. So one of the big things that caused this, and I'm gonna tell everybody this right now. Whenever you go and borrow money from any financial institution and they offer you the interest rate, make sure you find out if it's a fixed interest rate or it's a variable interest rate. In this case, the government abused the variable interest rate. A lot of them people here, black business owners, people who came and work hard, people who work hard just like their ancestors did, came and built up businesses, and they assume that the bank had their interests at heart. May I make this a video for poor class people, even though I may have said this and it's very sad. Poor class people will sell you out any time of day for upper class people. But we still have to make it for the one who are the best among us and who wants the best and who will keep fighting for our people. And see what I know about the people them here, we are sell out them vote, We are jump on trucks and they in your comment section I cuss you and I put up protests and I cuss my YouTube. This is what they don't know, that this is all that is being done. They are just being used for their votes. People don't need to understand the power of the votes, Wanna stop, take the handout. Send on a picnic them go heart to go learn a trade. Call center today. Heart did it. We cannot go back to the 90s with this kind of behavior. The PNP is fiscally irresponsible because all they do is they take the money out of the economy to take care of themselves. May I tell you, Andrew is not perfect. Nigel isn't perfect, but they are the best to run the country. And I could never in good conscience vote for these people. And I hope somebody will see this video and their mind change. Listen. If you look at the qualifications to get in parliament, it's not a lot. Too many poor people are look for handouts and I look for somebody to come bail them out. Nobody now gonna bail you out. Everybody have to bail out for themselves. Make the way for your sons and daughters to come up and want to be in parliament. People who come from the soil, the common people such as Andrew Holness and Nigel Clark. And that's why I support the JLP. And we will support any young somebody, real Jamaican off the ground in the PNP if they're doing the right thing. Some of us too committed to the party. Manly, dead and gone already. Jamaica is a majority black country. It is time black people stop hating ourselves, because when it's all said and done, it is our own self-hatred that leads to this, Them the people that don't know how to work with their one another. And them I do it from the 90s up till today. Nowadays, you can't even keep one good friend for a few years. And then we wonder why our lives so difficult. And politicians out here are take with the idiot and we can't see it. I recommend that you pull up this article online and read it. This article was written in 2010 by Bill Box. It was just to examine what was happening, in the financial sector at the time. So the question is, did Daring, Bunting, and Golding unfairly benefit from Omar Davies' largesse? And largesse really means gifts. So we could talk about what this whole largesse thing is all about, right? So amidst the crisis in the early 90s, these guys come up. As a matter of fact, we saw the article with Mark a while ago. It says that the company was founded in 1993, but this article says it was founded in 1992. Anyways, basically they're saying that those sympathetic to the opposition are declaring that the decisions to investigate all dealings between government agencies and DB&G during Omar Davies' tenure as Minister of Finance is nothing more than a political witch hunt intended to smear the reputations of opposition security spokesman Peter Bunting, the former lead principal of DB&G and the former Minister of Finance. The issue centers around the transparency and the fairness and whether DB&G unduly benefited from Davies' largesse. For years, many security dealers, financial commentators, and players in the financial sector have noted DB&G's propensity or how lucky they are to continually secure government contracts while its competitors were unable to get a look in. Some shrugged it off as that is how things run in Jamaica. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Others resented it and were green with envy as DBNG continued to prosper during the 90s and into the new century. In 1992, the young founders raised $1.5 million US dollars and opened their doors for business. In 2007, 15 years later, they sold DBNG to Scotia Group for $100 million. So 10 years after Finsac, they sold DBNG. Again, folks, remember, follow the money. The drama unfolded in the theater that is Parliament, and they're really a theater if you ask me. When the present Minister of Finance, Audley Shaw, in April 2008 accused DBNG of profiting handsomely from sweetheart deals under circumstances which may have been irregular, improper, or lacking in transparency and fairness, and not in accordance with the relevant provisions in the Contractor General Act and the Government Procurement Procedures and Guidelines. Bunting dared Shaw to repeat his allegations outside of Parliament, intimating that Shaw was hiding behind the skirt of parliamentary privilege. Such was the seriousness of the allegation and its accompanying repercussions. So in a layman terms, them did just get all kind of contracts, unfair benefits, privileges, and so on. So much so that while other banks are suffer under all kinds of circumstances, they were good. So basically, them people that work together from in the 90s coming up till today. So it begs the question, Awagwan. And we saw when Golden came out, you know, see Omar Davies come out again about go with Golden. It will be interesting when that report is produced. I am just imagining what's going on. So I see a lot of things that's happening right now. You know, everybody's accusing everybody of corruption. They're staying ahead of the game. You see this whole thing with Finsac, they did it and they won because they were allowed to win. So, all of the Tapenaris people, none of which we know, who have been held accountable, all of this destruction took place under their watch. So the question is, where is the money? And it's interesting that in this time when we have a British citizen, a dual citizen in Parliament, that we're not even sure if he's born in Jamaica, not wanting to surrender his dual citizenship, not having any assets in the country that he can account for, not even a house, with all of the wealth he's amassed over the years. So clearly, the money is somewhere else. And you go come tell me about Andrew not declare assets for 3 years, and he did declare it, you know it. But when you go tell me about Andrew Holness can have his information certify, yet you have nothing to certify, so you're not contributing to this country in the way that you should, but you want to ascend to a place of leadership. I hope a lot of Jamaicans will look at this video and they will learn a lesson. A lesson from the past, and to realize that what's happening right now, it could bring us back there. We see the distractions, we see the lies on social media, we see everybody in high gear doing everything and anything to get back into Parliament, knowing that the economy is good again, so there's a whole lot of money to spend. Y'all are not fighting to serve the people, because PNP wanna win the election more than anybody else, and that's caused a destruction. Jamaica people, it's time for you to choose between yourself on a family, on a politician. If you don't love on a politician more than on yourself, on a family, then on the deserve, forget anything you get. But if you don't love on a family, on the love what is good and right, get on the right side of history and become a builder. Do not vote for people who will destroy Jamaica land we love. This is a steady show saying thanks for viewing, liking, and subscribing. Steady. Got a special request from one of my subscribers. Say a long time I hear about this Finsac thing, so I wanted to do a video on it. Big up RT, Passion Paradise, the whole crew. Thank you all for supporting. Thank you to all the new subscribers and those who've been liking my video.